Hello, welcome back. We're going to take a very thorough look today at changing our mind. Quite simply, we do this all of the time in our daily life. We change our mind about what to have for dinner. We change our mind about what to buy at the supermarket, what pair of underwear to put on in the morning. We change our mind about all kinds of things. So let's take this mind changing and apply it the only place it actually matters, on our spiritual path, of course. When it comes to changing your mind about who you are, because who you think you are is not who you are. So let's change our mind about ourselves. And we can have whatever we want for dinner. In the overall scheme of things, that actually doesn't make much difference, does it? So we're on chapter 8, section 4 now of the text. And it's entitled The Gift of Freedom. So, right here in paragraph 1, which is incidentally all we're going to cover in this video, there's a lot we can learn. And yes, as always, some of this, or all of it, may be a repeat. Good. Perhaps today will be the day where something really clicks for you, where something just lands or it sinks in and inspires you to practice, that inspires you to change your mind. That's what all of this is. That's what learning to perceive truly involves, is a change in mind. We think we're one thing, when in truth, we're not that thing at all. This thing is completely outside of us. It is not the Son of God. We're quite clearly conditioned to believe otherwise in the world. We equate the physical body with ourself. We look in the mirror and think, okay, that's me. And we define ourselves in that way, and we defend our personal territory. We do this in all aspects of life. We define the physical body as us and defend the physical body against all comers, especially the imagined ones, as we plot and scheme, spending our entire life in the future or the past, and not in the present moment when we try to preemptively strike out at our brother whom we're sure is going to get us, or we rehash what we coulda, woulda, should have done yesterday. All the while, we're neglecting who we really are right now. And I know that you know that. That is what has you interested in spirituality. It is. It's what has all of us interested in spirituality in the first place, is this deep knowledge that there's more to it than simply the image that you see when you look in the mirror, the image that you see on your screen. It's not me. It's a pixelated image on your screen. So who's really talking? Well, it's your inner teacher, that's talking to you. When something lands or connects or just sounds right to you, it's your inner teacher speaking to you. So we're all invited to listen. God's will for you is peace and joy. That's God's will for each and every one of us. Peace and joy. And here in the world, when we experience anything other than peace and joy, what's really going on is we're refusing to acknowledge God's will. True, it is. When we are not experiencing peace and joy all the time, we're refusing to acknowledge God's will. And sure, we put it off on the government. We put it off on our brother. We put it off on the neighbor and the neighbor's dog for barking and disturbing our peace during coffee time. We project our discomfort outward. Yet God's will for us is peace and joy. And when we experience anything else, what's really going on is we're refusing to acknowledge God's will. We're saying, no, I want to go play off over here for a while. We are. So we could change our mind and acknowledge God's will. How about that? You could do that right now, today. When we're not at peace, it's because we refuse to acknowledge God's will, and we refuse to accept that we're in Him. Yes, we refuse to accept that we're in God, and we are in God. God is the all in all. Capital A, yeah. We're in God. Here we find, yet again, the very well-known and oft-quoted passage from the Course that it seems like I quote and reference every single video. Here we go again. Ideas leave not their source. You are in God. Ideas, thoughts, remain in the mind of the thinker. And each and every one of us is the thought of God. We're referred to in this way in several places in A Course in Miracles as the thought of God. Ideas leave not their source, capital S. You've never left your source. I've never left our source. Your ex has never left his or her source. We've never left our source. Period. And God's will for us is peace and joy. So when we experience anything else, what is this but an opportunity for us to return our awareness to the present moment and forgive? We forgive what appears to be happening out there, whether it's a person or the weather or some sort of circumstance, a feeling. We forgive it. If it is not total peace and joy, it is an opportunity for forgiveness. So we bring our awareness, our present moment awareness to this, and we act accordingly. We forgive what appears to be outside us. It's not outside us. There's never been any separation of any kind. Ever. And there is not now. So we can change our mind about ourselves. and our brother, everything. That is what A Course in Miracles invites us to do, to change our mind. This isn't you. It's not me either. God's will, God's laws govern everything. They're the all, after all, aren't they? So we cannot exempt ourselves from them. They simply are. And let's be glad that's the case, because you've never left your source. Ideas leave not their source. You've never left God. You're in him right now, even if it doesn't feel like it. And it may not. Happens, doesn't it? A lot, maybe. Yeah, you're in him. You're in God. We all are. So we cannot exempt ourselves from God's laws, but we can run and hide. We can disobey them. We can dismiss them. We can deny them and run off and hide in this thing. So we think, equating it with us, defining and defending personal territory, running amok, having some happy days and some not so happy days, some beautiful, hot, sexy moments and some downright atrocious moments. Sometimes one right after another in an endless stream of excess activity and frustration that leaves us exhausted. Are you done with running around and hiding? Only you can answer that for yourself. But are you? Are you done with all this? Do you want the peace of God? Do you want God's will for you? Peace and joy, total, all-encompassing peace and joy. There is nothing else. Do you want to experience this and nothing else? Because there is nothing else. So will you change your mind? You're invited to change your mind today, right now. What happens to us, which we have crystal clear experiences of all of the time in the world, is when we choose to ignore God's will, we feel lonely, don't we? We feel cut off, separated, sad, depressed, anxious. We feel sorrow and pain. We feel helpless. It's our decision to feel helpless. I know that sounds harsh because it seems like these feelings of loneliness and despair come from outside of us. Well, there is nothing outside of you. We're the ones that have chosen to see ourselves as separate. We could choose to see ourselves as one. Change our mind. Instead of illusion, we could choose truth and let it be just as it is. This is a change of mind. The adult reality here is that we've foisted all of this error on ourselves. We could just as easily set it aside. We could change our mind. We could instead acknowledge our oneness with God. One with who, where, and what are you? Let that sink in, and then ask yourself again if you feel you need to, and let the answer sink in again and again and again. Change your mind. We're invited to change our mind. This course, the practice of this material, is about our changing our mind. There's no need for us to deny ourselves everything. There's not. We could change our mind and allow truth to be just as it is. We could have the peace of God. It's who we are. What we're doing here on what we call the spiritual path, in whatever form or forms that may take for you, is we're clearing the obstacles to our awareness of truth, of our oneness with God, to our experience of our eternal oneness with God, peace and joy beyond our wildest imagination here in the world. But here in the world, when we see ourselves as cut off human beings, individual self-sustaining survival units, it's difficult for us to go there in our mind. Isn't it? It is. It's difficult for us to imagine that we're not the image that we see when we look in the mirror, that we're not our aches and pains, that we're not the size of our bank account, however large or small that may be, that we're not our occupation, we're not our gender, nor our species. There is no separation of any kind. So how could there be even something as basic as we consider it in the world as Linnaean taxonomy and classification? The species, it's a separation device. Any label is a separation device. When you label yourself anything here in the world, it means you're not other things. It's a dualistic separation device that we are conditioned to accord reality. And we fall quite naturally into that. Now, here we are as adult learners, unlearning all of this and learning to accept truth just as it is. In fact, here does involve an unlearning as we change our mind and we decide right now in the present moment to let the ego go, to let our false sense of separation go. Your brother is not separate from you. He is you. That's an idea worth coming back to again and again and again. And that's what we do. So some days these ideas may be very, very difficult to swallow. Right? And maybe today is one of those days for you. When you notice yourself judging, blaming, thinking that all spirituality is completely wrong and bogus and a waste of time and oxygen, and your supposed physical presence in this supposed world, supposed placed there deliberately, of course, when you think that's all a waste and nothing's ever going to happen, understand one thing. That's the ego talking to you. It's an opportunity for forgiveness of whatever it is that appears to be in front of you. The entire world, our experience in this world, is a forgiveness opportunity on a shiny, completely polished silver platter. It's a gift, and you could choose to see it that way. Now, these may be very, very painful or uncomfortable or frustrating in the present moment. Of course they are. It's part of the adult endeavor that is spirituality, where we look at all of our drama, baggage, call it something else that starts with an S in the English language. Yeah, that. We look at this and we release it. We forgive and release, forgive and release, forgive and release, rinse, repeat. When we learn a forgiveness lesson, we do not have to repeat that lesson. In this sense, A Course in Miracles can save lots and lots of time. The peace of God can be experienced right now. When else would you do it? The future is not here. There is no future. The past is not here either. There is no past. There is only the eternal now, the present moment. There's no time. There's just right now. This is when we change our mind. Now. It's when we decide that we want the peace of God and nothing else. Right now. It's when we allow our inner teacher to teach us, to guide us right now. All takes place right now. When else? Okay, so quite clearly, as always, we're talking about deep subject matter. This is A Course in Miracles, and having watched until this point, this clearly demonstrates that you are dedicated and committed to your spiritual practice. And it doesn't matter if you're thinking that all of this is completely incredible and how could it ever be. You know, that thought comes up on the path, excuse me. It appears to have come up in the past, doesn't it? Let's forgive the past. It's gone. It's not here. We have these moments here where things just don't seem to be working. And we're invited to forgive whatever's in front of us. Along with our inner teacher, we trust the guidance of our inner teacher. And we keep moving forward. And the fact that you're here demonstrates quite clearly that you are dedicated and committed to your spiritual practice. So for that, I thank you, because that is the single best, highest form of offering you could give anyone, anywhere. Much greater than service in kind, much greater than money, and certainly much greater than all of the subscriptions and comments and likes here on YouTube. Although I definitely appreciate those too. Don't get me wrong. Oh, and by the way, the subscription button's right here. If you haven't joined us already, that's the red arrow in the corner of your screen. We'd love to have you. This is a forum where questions are most welcome, questions and discussion. So if there is a question that you'd like to ask, please feel welcome to do so. And what we've got here is, if you're just joining us, it's an international community, and a growing international community at that. What we have here are several discussions of A Course in Miracles per week. So welcome to those of you who have recently subscribed, and I thank you for joining us here. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed, again, we'd love to have you. And we are going through the text of A Course in Miracles, and tomorrow in the next video we'll be going through the text of A Course in Miracles, and the day after that, and the day after that, and that. There are 31 chapters in the text alone. We're on chapter 8, so that means quite a bit more in the way of discussion. All right, so thank you as always for joining me, and I will see you again very soon.